Welcome to Powered by Her, exploring the stories of how area women power their business. Hear from the growing network of female entrepreneurs of the Upper Cumberland with your host Tiffany Ann Ton, director of Biz Foundry. Powered by Her starts now.
Hello, you're listening to Powered by Her in the Hinton Oakley Podcast Center. I'm Tiffany Ann Ton with the Biz Foundry, and I have Kori Edgington in today. Hi, Kori.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
So this is like a really interesting Powered by Her episode, because I don't even know, a year ago, something maybe, your predecessors were guests on Powered by Her.
Yes. Kim
and Angie started Select Designs, which is an embroidery and screen printing company. And so they were on, and they kind of told the story about how they started. And you have had an entrepreneurial bug forever.
Yes.
Tatum and I were just talking, Tatum Hill Interiors, and she was saying you're an entrepreneur through and through. Like you were going to be an entrepreneur in life.
It was going to happen.
So take me back. Are you from this area? Did you grow up here?
No, I'm actually from East Tennessee originally. I graduated in 2003 and moved to Cookeville. I was the only person from my senior class to come to Cookeville. So it was a total fresh start.
And you came here for Tennessee Tech?
Came here for Tennessee Tech. My senior English teacher came to school here, and she was like, I think you might be interested in it, because I didn't really want to go to Knoxville, didn't want to go to Walter State. So she said, hey, look at it, check it out. And we came down here in the spring, and you can't beat Tennessee Tech's campus in the spring. And so we got out of the car.
All the flowers. And
and it's like perfectly manicured on the quad. And we got out of the car, and I looked at my mom, and she was like, kind of rolled her eyes, because she knew. She was like, no, she's gone.
Well, did you feel a little bit like, that's a tech school, I'm not really sure if...
I didn't. She just said, you might like it. And we started looking into programs. So funny enough, I came here and was a nursing major.
Which is a huge school at Tennessee Tech as well, the school.
Yeah, so I did 2 years of undergrad nursing, literally got through the hard stuff. And I was like, I just don't know that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And so I basically started school all over again and went into business. And I graduated from tech with a marketing degree, with enough time to have been a doctor, but unfortunately not practicing any kind of medicine.
Right. You don't have a DR in front of your name. Nope. So you were here, you liked it, decided to stay, or did you?
I was about 9 months out from graduation. And the plan was in my head, I'll graduate, I'll move to Knoxville, I'll get some kind of sales job. It's close to home, but not all the way back home. And then I met Drew, my husband, and I had known him for several years just through mutual friends. But we kind of connected in April of 2009. And
so like a month before you're supposed to leave?
So I was going to graduate. I was set to graduate in December.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I met him in 2009 or kind of reintroduced in 2009, and we just immediately hit it off. And here I am 17 years later in Cookeville, Tennessee. And this August will be my 17th anniversary in Cookeville. And it blows my mind.
I love that. I think I've lived in other places. Never have I ever celebrated an anniversary. But in Cookeville, I do.
Yeah.
I moved here on my 31st birthday.
Okay.
And so I know what day it was.
Yeah.
And so I celebrate my Cookeville anniversary as well.
And it amazes me how fast it's gone by. But people ask, they're like, how long have you been in Cookeville anyway? And I'm like, it's going to be 17 years. So almost half my life now.
Right. I mean, and you've probably lived here longer than you have lived almost anywhere else.
I'm right on the cusp.
And so do you feel like you're a Cookevillian, or do you still kind of feel like a transplant a little bit?
Oh, no. Cookeville's so welcoming. I mean, I might have been here 6 months and I was like, yeah, I got this place.
Yeah,
once you figure out like where both Walmarts are in Kroger, I feel like you're in.
Well, 17 years ago, I'm guessing there was not both Walmarts.
There was, and it was easier for me to get to the one in Allgood because it was a straight shot from Tech campus. And so someone was telling me like, you go straight down Jefferson to get to the Walmart. And then when I realized there was one straight this way that was a little closer, I was like, forget it, I'm never going back.
As an Allgood girl myself, I'm partial to the Allgood Walmart.
I am. There's a difference. There's a difference.
So what do you think growing up? So you decided to go into business at some point. You kind of strayed off in nursing a little bit. But did you think, what growing up did you think you were going to do when little Kori was like asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? What were you
So funny story, little Kori was asked at probably Tucker's age, probably like 7, what she was going to be when she grew up, and she was going to be a pediatrician. So like that medical bug was just always there. My older sister was a nurse, and I think some of that might have spawned from her. But my grandmother owns a florist in East Tennessee, and she just celebrated 45 years.
Wow.
And my mom has worked there her whole life. And so that entrepreneurial female vibe has always been in my life. And I think in the back of my head, it was just something I might have tried to fight a little bit, but it was just kind of always there.
That as a doctor, you could own your own practice. Was that maybe an element of that?
I love people. And I think a lot of the medicine was more like I just wanted to be around people and help people. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's where a lot of that came from too.
Yeah, of just that working. So you decided to stay here and you had this business degree. And so what did you start doing out of college?
So my first job out of college, I was working at Hibbett's and Spanky's both when I graduated.
Sounds like a college graduate.
Right? I was selling steaks and sneakers. I've done it all. So my first job out of college was at the Herald Citizen, and I actually worked in the ad department, selling ads and in the art, working with the art department to publish those ads. And then I went from there. I was there for about 3 years, and I went from there to Home Instead Senior Care, and I was their marketing director. And then when we got pregnant with Tate, I just kind of wanted to be around for his little years. And it was funny because I was trying to work out part-time at Home Instead, and Rob Brown is just like the best person in the world to work for. I mean, just one of the best bosses I've ever had. And Rob was like, I want to help you with this, but gosh, if I let you do it, I kind of have to let everybody do it. And you can't run a business with like 12 part-time people. And I was like, no, I totally understand. And within days of that conversation kind of happening, Angie called and she was like, hey, what are you going to do after you have this baby? And, for those people that don't know, Angie is my husband's aunt. Mm-hmm. So she's Aunt Angie. But Angie called and she said, what are you going to do when you have this baby? And I said, well, I really want to stay home, but we're having trouble working it out. And she said, why don't you come work for me and Kim? And I was like, what are you talking about? Come work for you and Kim. And really, I mean, I had ordered T-shirts through them before, but I was like, how am I going to fit into this equation? And she said, we really want to expand the front and the embroidery, and we really kind of want to have like a little small retail shop. Why don't you come and like manage that and kind of grow that for us? And I was like, okay, let me talk to Drew. And Drew was like, I mean, if that's what you want to do it. And so we got that worked out. I had Tate in December, and I went to work for them in early February after he was born.
And so were you bringing him with you to the store?
Tate was in a pack and play or strapped to one of the 3 of our bodies throughout the day. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and until he was he was there until he was about 15 weeks old. Uh-huh. So Tate just had 3 mamas for a while.
Yeah. Well, and so you were able to go back to work and kind of find the right fit. I think as women, a lot of the listeners are women and identify with that. Well, how do I do the things that I'm passionate about, and how do I do the things I want to do, but yet still feel like I'm fulfilling my desires and needs and wants as a mom?
Yeah.
So how did you make that decision that was kind of what was best for you?
Well, I was so strongly desired to be home with Tate. And so I was just like, but I have always worked from the time I was 15, 16 years old. I worked at my grandmother's flower shop. And then as soon as I got to Cookeville, I found a job. I actually worked at Go 10 first. So sushi, sneakers, and steaks. I've sold all the things.
It's as if you've told the story a time or two before.
And so I had just always worked, and I couldn't imagine not working in some form or fashion. And this was just going to work for Kim and Angie was just going to be the best fit. I was going to have the flexibility that I needed with a newborn. And I mean, they are great bosses as well, because they had boys and they got, they had kids. They understood what it was going to be like. But I was still able to provide for my family, which was a big deal to me because I always wanted to contribute. Mm-hmm. So it was a way for me to kind of check all those boxes.
So then you decided at some point, maybe we're fast forwarding a few years, you decided to work for Tatum Hill.
Yes.
Which is also a previous episode of Powered by Her. And so what brought you to Tatum?
So Tatum had started coming in Select Designs, and we were working on some projects together as far as like embroidery and things go. And she was like, you enjoy doing this, don't you? Like picking this kind of stuff out. And I was like, yes, I love it. And she was like, would you ever work for me? And I was like, oh, maybe,
She swiped you away.
She swiped me. And we had a great time together. And that was kind of a creative outlet. I was doing creative things at Select, but that was another avenue of creativity that I enjoyed doing. And gave me an opportunity to explore. But Tatum was just so busy, and she really needed like a full-time. She needed a Tatum 2.0. And I was like, Tatum 0.5.
And how old was your son at the time when you started working for her?
Tate would have been 2.5, 3 years old then.
Okay.
And so he had started going full-time to daycare at that point.
So you weren't...
Well, part-time, I guess.
You weren't quite so full. I mean, you had a little bit more time, but just not the time to dedicate to her that you...
Yeah, and he was still little, and they were, I enjoyed spending time with him and Tucker too, because he had not started kindergarten yet. So I still had just those few sweet years to pick up and go and do whenever. And she was very gracious about it. And she was like, I totally get it. It's fine. But I learned so much from Kim and Angie and from Tatum about, like, you can do all the things. You can raise your kids and you can run a business. And so when this opportunity circled back around, I could kind of tap back into all of that and be like, you know what? I can do this.
We're going to get to that in just a second. In case you're just joining us, you're listening to Powered by Her in the Hinson Oakley Podcast Center. I'm Tiffany Anton with the Biz Foundry, and we have Kori Edgington with Select Designs. And so, like I just mentioned, you previously worked for Kim and Angie.
Yes.
And probably, what has it been, 6, 8, 9, 10 months, something like that now? So tell me about, you decided to purchase this existing company from them.
Yes. So they called back just this past August and kind of put a bug in there, and they said, we think we're about...
Called back? Was this out? Had you tried to work this out?
Well,
before?
I had always said, before you guys get rid of this, you better call me. So just half joking, half serious.
But you kind of had a bug in you that you wanted to do your own thing, run your own company.
Yes and no. It was just like, it intrigued me so much that they had taken this business and
from the back of a salon,
from the back of a tanning bed salon, like literally a closet. And we're spread out across 2 buildings. And and
like you said, the retail space, like they started out by just kind of like helping teams make t-shirts. Yeah. And now they have a retail space and they just kind of get to design.
It just kind of kept growing. Every year there was something new, and they were like, we're thinking we're going to try this. And I was just like, gosh, I love it. Like,
and you just like that outlet of being able to be creative.
And you get to deal with people, and I get to be creative, and I still have all this flexibility.
So we're almost we're coming up to a year that they called you in August, you said.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, we're thinking we're ready to get out.
Which I was shocked, because I was like, whoa, I thought we were doing this a little longer, which I always knew. They had always said.
They're not quite retirement age.
Yeah. I was like, whoa. But they had always said, because I had asked them, I guess, before I had gone to work for Tatum, I said, how long do you guys think you'll do this? And they were like, probably till all the kids are out of college, because that business helped put all their kids through college. And so Will actually just graduated in May. Just a couple weekends ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a couple weekends ago. And so she said, Will's about to graduate, and we just think maybe we're ready. And Kim wanted to spend more time with Trey. Trey just turned 30 years old. And, for those of you that don't know, Trey has Down syndrome. And so she was like, this is a chance for me to get to spend all the time I want to with Trey. And so I was like, oh, okay, no thanks. And Drew was like, what? No, we're going to think about it. I was like, no, we're not. I'm not. No.
Yeah.
Nope. Thank you, though. Because at the time I was working for our church, and we were remodeling and trying to move into a new building.
And you have kids that are how old?
I have a 7 and a 5-year-old.
7 and a 5.
And so it was just a lot. Yeah. And I was like, no, we're good. But thank you for calling. I really appreciate it. And Drew was like, we're going to think about it. I was like, okay. So Drew and I started talking about it, and we started praying about it. And the day we started praying about it, little things just kind of kept happening. And I was like, okay, I see you, God. I'm listening.
Well,
okay.
Tell me one of them.
Okay. So we were at Cracker Barrel. We go to Cracker Barrel every Wednesday night. Well, pre-COVID. We went to Cracker Barrel every Wednesday night with Drew's family. And I ran into a previous customer from Select Designs, and Gina Key, and she said, Kori, I just miss you so much at Select Designs. I just wish you were still there. And I was like, I know. And I know my face turned 10 shades of red because I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
And a couple of different times that kind of happened. And then one night I was kind of like on Select Designs Facebook. This was probably like the nail. And I'm scrolling through their Facebook and just kind of looking to see what all they had been up to. And a video, I didn't get far down through there, but there was a video from when I left. And it just kind of popped up. And the caption of the video said, "Today we said goodbye for now to Kori." And I was like, okay, oh, well, here we go. I was like, Drew.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, we're doing it.
Yeah.
Here we go. And I was like, oh, okay, here we go. So, and here we are.
Yeah. So you guys decided to buy the business.
We bought the business.
And you had some you took some marketing classes. You have a business degree.
Yes.
But you had not run a business before.
Never ran a business before.
Top to bottom.
Yeah.
There's a lot. I mean, and I'm sure you understood a lot of what went into the business by when you worked there, but probably not everything.
Well, so when I was there, I mainly just did the embroidery and was kind of like Kim's little sidekick. So I didn't know anything about the screen print. Like I would sit and watch Angie some days and just be like, what is she doing? But I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
So it was like the learning curve was more of a kind of like a vertical line when we got started.
It wasn't very curvy.
It was not very curvy, not very curvy. So, but Angie was very kind and stayed with me halfway through March and just poured into me and poured into me and poured into me. And then she was like, I think you got this. I think you're good. And I was like, no, I'm not. Don't leave me. Please don't leave me. And right about that time, her father passed away. And so she had places to be and things that she needed to do. So it was kind of like a baptism by fire at that point.
Again, God's timing.
I mean,
like, okay, you're gonna be on
but
your
it
own.
was the best thing for me because I would have held on to Angie with both hands for dear life for as long as she'd let me.
I actually saw her not that long ago walking her dog in the neighborhood. It was 10 o'clock in the morning or something like that, and I was like, I guess this is what you get to do now. And she was looking great and having fun.
Oh yeah, she's eating it up. She's a little upset. She loves to travel, and so all of this COVID business has kind of put a damper on that. But last I checked with her, she was at the beach. So
yes,
she's good.
Yes. So
and we actually saw Kim this morning. We were driving down Maple, headed to the shop, and I was like, boys, I think that's Miss Kim. And we rolled the window down. She was like, where are you guys headed? And Tucker said, Select.
So tell me about that as an entrepreneur, and now your kids have been home and you've been trying to do it all as we all have been. How have you managed to still do the mom thing that's needed, but yet from the looks of it, you have grown this business?
Oh, thank you.
I mean, I loved Select Designs before, but I've seen just such a change in the past, like just life breathed into a well-oiled machine, but just what you have done in the past 6 months has been amazing.
Gosh,
so
thank you.
How have you figured out how to balance or how to not pull your hair out?
Well, the hair, there might be a couple bald spots back here. It's been a delicate dance. It's been a lot of patience from every direction, and just really trying to walk this out as faithfully as possible. My husband,
grace on all sides, right?
Oh, grace. Buckets.
Yes.
Buckets of grace.
Grace for yourself, grace for your kids.
Yes. Because it's all been new. And Tucker made the comment one day, he was a little discouraged. And he's like, I liked it better when you didn't have Select Designs. And I was like, I get it, buddy. I get it.
Well, and I think that's every entrepreneur goes through that. Even though you purchased an existing business, you have really decided to take it to a different place. And so there is a lot of growth and a lot of hard work and hustle and drive that goes in right now. And so Select won't always be this negative thing in your household,
right?
And that's kind of important to keep in mind when you're in the trenches.
Yeah.
Is that, okay, this is what I need to do now to get it to where I want it to be.
Well, and we have a mantra in our house now. Tucker, what do we say? Select does what? What does Select Designs do?
Put clothes on our back, a TV in our face, and food on our table.
For those that didn't hear, that was clothes on our back, a TV in our face, and food on our table.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
we finally had to establish that so that it wasn't just a, I hate mom's job.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and I think that's the thing is that it's not a job anymore, which is what you've been able to have before, where you could leave it.
Yeah.
You could walk away.
Yeah.
You clocked in, clocked out, or relatively. Yeah. But having a business is a different animal. It's a different
It's all the
ballgame.
time. And that's one thing I really had to learn. At first, it was like we closed at 4:30, but I wouldn't leave until 6. And so Drew and I finally had a conversation about that. And he was like, hey, listen, it's still going to be there tomorrow. Come on home. And so just it's been it was like baptism by fire at first, and now that we're like in it and the pace of everything has just like slowed down, I'm able now to kind of set my own, like, this is what it's going to look like now. Like, we're going to be open these days from this time, and I am going to walk away and take my kids and go do something, or just have some freedom that I think Angie and Kim didn't have all the time.
For those that are just joining us, you're listening to Powered by Her in the Hinson Oakley Podcast Center. We have Kori Edgington with Select Designs in. And so one thing that, I mean, a lot has been thrown at you as a newer entrepreneur. And March was a roller coaster. But one thing that you were able to just jump in. So our community was hit with the craziest tornado our community's ever seen. Hundreds of buildings, a couple hundred, I think, is what the final total was. Buildings were hit, homes completely destroyed. We lost lives. And you were able to jump right into this community and help out. So what did Select Designs, and tell me about that process of this Cookeville Strong initiative that you were part of.
Okay. So when Drew and I first decided, like, we're going to do this, one prayer that I have continuously prayed over this business is, God, let this be a way for me to radically give to people. I want to radically give to people. And that was something that I learned from Angie and Kim, because they had the biggest hearts and were the biggest givers I've ever seen. And it always came back to them. Like, they gave without worry all the time. And I wanted that. I desired that so much. So that's something I had been praying just consistently over this business.
Did you have some fears with that? I mean,
oh, goodness.
It's scary.
Yeah. Well, so then, the tornado hits, and, everybody kind of just jumps in this need, like, how can I help? Like, need to help. And Drew and I are talking. I'm like, what can we do? What can we do? And he was doing some things with our church. And I was like, I'm here. I'm stuck at Select. Like, I can't go and do. And God just reminded me, he was like, hey, Kori, you have a platform that you can do. It just looks different from other people's. And so Caitlin Steakley had posted this graphic one night, a Cookeville Strong graphic, and I texted her and I was like, man, that graphic is awesome. Y'all should put that on a t-shirt. And she was right, like, hey, Caitlin,
do you know anybody that makes t-shirts?
So ridiculous, right? I was like,
you should find somebody.
Y'all should put that on a t-shirt. And she was like, hey, do you want me to connect you with the girl that made the graphic? And I was like, oh my gosh, that would be awesome. Like, I literally felt like I'd hit the lottery. Right. I was like, yes, please. Thank you.
I forgot that might be.
I mean, just so silly, so naive.
Yeah.
And so she connected me with Danielle, and Danielle was just so gracious. And she said, yes, absolutely. Like, yes, use it. And she was kind enough to give us that design and wasn't really giving it away to other people. So that was like kind of an exclusive thing at Select Designs. And so we put those out there, and we did like a pre-order I just put it on the website and opened it up, and I let it go for 3 days. And it was like 400 orders, not 400 shirts, but 400 orders. And I was like, shut it down. I don't know how we're never going to get through this. And so we got through that first round, and then we opened it up again for like another 3 or 4 days. And it was the same thing again. And I was like, okay, shut it down. So, but it was awesome. I could never have imagined the response that we got from that. And I still have people calling the store, do you still have any of those shirts? And we have like a handful left. But because of Cookeville and Putnam County, and because of people that just wanted to help, they were just looking for a way to help, we were able to raise $16,000, a little over $16,000 to give.
Wow.
And I mean, that's scary when you've just bought a business. We hadn't even been in business for 100 days at that point. I think our 100th day was like April 15th. And so we were like in the 80s, 90s somewhere. And I was just like, okay.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. Yeah. That's a lot of money. But, God just kind of kept reminding me, like, hey, you asked for this. You asked for a way to radically give. And, here you go. Are you going to do it? And we did it. And it's just been, so then, that happened. And I was so glad to write that check and give that. And then, the COVID stuff happened and it really kind of started to slow, like the world kind of started to slow down, but we stayed busy. Like people kept calling and saying, hey, I need t-shirts for this. Or I need, we've got this going on. And I was just like, okay, all right.
I think that is, giving is scary. But I think, like you said, it comes back. It comes back to you. And so you were, a lot of people, a lot of teams knew Select Design, but didn't necessarily know you did individual sales or the storefront or hats that you made hats that were the Cookeville Strong hats. And so, that's not what the intention is to give. It was just, I want to do something. I want to be involved.
Yep.
But then, just to be completely honest, as businesses, you do get your name out there and recognition out there. And I just think there's a lot of positivity in figuring out how to give or get involved.
Well, and that was the thing. People were like, I didn't even know. They'd come to pick up their shirt and, they were sticking their head in, looking around. They're like, I didn't even know this was here. I'm like, it's been in business for 14 years.
Yes. Well, and then one thing that I've always really loved about Select Designs is that anytime there's, I'm a fundraiser, I work, I volunteer for a lot of different events, and anytime I want an item, and I'll go, "Hey, can you donate something?" And Angie and Kim have always always donated, and I think then I'm loyal. I brand loyal to those places that always give, and so. I mean, I have a Mary Kay consultant that she literally started by giving me a free tube of mascara, and I've spent way more than that free tube ever cost, but it comes back around.
Well, and relationships are very important to me. And in this business, Angie and Kim had sunk 13 years of their life into this business and building quality relationships. And no, not everybody knows about them, but the customers that they had meant something to them. And that was one thing I wanted to carry on and carry over, was to continue to foster those relationships and build new ones. Because like I told you, I'm a people person. That's always been, I would talk to that brick wall if it would talk back. And some days I'd talk to it just to talk.
Right.
But I want that. I desire that. I desire to have relationships with people and to know people and to learn things about them.
So we, you touched on COVID a little bit. So within 100 days, we hit a pandemic. People are shut down. I mean, we had a tornado first, and so that's got to have been. I mean, most small business owners in the past few months have been in really scary positions, and you have continued to at least have a steady business. What do you think that the key is to that? Why do you think that you've been able to maintain the way you have?
Honestly, a lot of it has to do with the work that Angie and Kim put in. And just kind of building that machine. And I have just done my best to keep it oiled. And they left me with a stack of folders like, these people, reorder things on a regular basis. So I check in with those people and like, is there anything you need? And we are trying our best to have a strong social media presence, because let's be real, the world's digital now. So I had a really great website created, and I think just being able to push it out just a little further into people's hands and let them know, this is what we do. We're still here.
Well, I think one thing that you've done a little bit is pivoted from just group screen printing or to individual retail, and so you're doing a lot more personalization of items, and really looking at that one-on-one service, or just that kind of building that retail aspect of things, instead of just we do a lot of teams or a lot of shirts that need to be made, and so that pivot has been really, really important in this time. Especially I've talked to a lot of business owners of just, they feel stuck of, my business is donuts and people can't come into my space. Well, They started doing donuts that kids can decorate at home. And so there's just, it's been very exciting to see the way people have pivoted from this.
Yeah. I think everybody is kind of having to dig a little deeper and really tap into like, how else can I utilize what I'm already doing? What's a different lens that I can look at it through? Do
you have any people that besides Kim and Angie that I'm sure you're still in contact with, that you really kind of think, okay, maybe I am a little stuck. I mean, I know it's not been that long, but I'm a little stuck. What else could I do to pivot?
Well, one thing, when all this kind of stirred up, I relied on CG heavily. Like every day I was texting her like, okay, what are you going to do?
Another previous Powered by Her.
Yeah. I'm like, what are you going to do? How are you going to handle this? Because I had just started and, I was kind of leaning in on people that had been in this business for a while and been in the retail business and just kind of tried to follow everybody's lead.
And we do have an amazing community. I mean,
oh goodness, the small business community in Cookeville is unreal. Like, I don't know that you could go anywhere else and small businesses are supporting each other the way that they do here.
I think at some point when I started the Powered by Her podcast, it was like, okay, well, what are you going to do when you run out of female entrepreneurs? And it's like, well, here we are over a year in and I still haven't run out of it.
Yeah, it's incredible to me.
So, it's just amazing. Everybody comes from different places and different stories and different, but there's just this greater good of everybody wants to see, high tides raise all ships. And so there's just this great community of, we want everyone to be successful. And I feel like, when a business in the community doesn't make it, it kind of breaks everybody's heart a little bit. Like, oh, well, what could we have done to help them?
Yeah.
So, anything else that you want to let people know? Any advice that you want to put out there?
Oh, advice. Just don't give up. Be faithful. And like I said, lean in on the people that have already, there's so many established businesses out there. Lean in and tap people's brains because
don't reinvent the wheel.
Yeah. A lot of people have already put in the hard work and are proud of their hard work. And a lot of them are more than happy to share things. Lindsay Heron was one too, that I talked to a lot about small business. And she's a legit hype man. Yeah. She'll pump you up. Yeah. Yeah. She'll give you what you need.
That's good to have those people in your corner that can kind of push you along.
Yeah. But connecting and not guarding yourself when you're in a small business. Like it's not, me versus any other t-shirt company that may be in town. It's just like sometimes even like, how can we all kind of work together to get to the next point, which is kind of cool sometimes to watch.
I think, just that community of really how much there is going on in the activity. I mean, just in 17 years that you've been here, I'm sure that things are a lot different.
Oh yeah, for
the
sure.
landscape looks a lot differently here. So how can people find Select Designs?
So we are located at 226 West Stevens Street, Suite E. So it's the Smith Electric building. People, New Breed and Smith Electric. Like you say one of those and they're like, oh yeah, that's where you are?
Yeah,
like, that's me. But we have a great painted window right now. So with the big new logo on it or on our website, which is selectdesignscookeville.com.
Okay. And you have Instagram page?
It's Select Designs and same thing on Facebook.
On Facebook. Okay.
Yeah. And the girls have gotten really good about keeping things on there.
Yeah. So
the 931 tees, that's been the new thing that we're really trying to push.
And it's just such a great community icon that you're becoming. You're going to be like the new Cream City sign.
I love it. Well, so funny story. I was like, what can we do right now? Because it's kind of where I kind of at a lull. And I had seen an 865 shirt that I thought was so cool. And so I text Kayla, who works with me at Select Designs from Penny House Creative. And I was like, hey, what can we do? And so we kind of started swapping lists. And then we got to the Poets Ralph's Cream City 931 shirt. And when I reached out to them and said, hey, this is the idea that I have. I would love to use your brand. Do you mind? And they were all so thankful. Number one, for that we asked, because they say, a lot of times people don't even ask us. They just use it. But they were like rooting for me. And they were like, I really think these are going to be great. And that was exciting. Like, just to feel that again, like there really is a sense of community here right now more than ever.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. Now we've referenced a few other podcasts, so everybody should go back and listen to CG England.
I just listened to Kim and Angie's maybe 2 or 3 months ago. And I was like, I wonder what they said during theirs. And I was sitting in bed one night with my earbuds in listening to it.
I love hearing everybody's stories and where they've come from. Yeah. So it's great to hear that. So thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
You've listened to Powered by Her in the Hinson Oakley Podcast Center.
You've been listening to Powered by Her. Download your favorites and keep up with new episodes in the Hints and Oakley Podcast Center.